So this is generally known as the, you'll have to excuse Mother Nature. She just wants to be the backdrop to my video, and she's fine. I'm gonna let her be her. So this is usually known as it's, they say transparent, but it's really not, because I'm gonna show you why. It's more like translucent, and I'm sure I'm gonna mix that up, so somebody's gonna correct me, and that's fine. But what it does is it does let light through, right? Dude, that's bright, isn't it? It's bright, isn't it? But it's not quite transparent, right? So this is called the LED foam. This is for when you have clear pieces that literally you want LED to show through, or whatever. This is a special type of foam. TNT Cosplay does, in fact, carry it. I think it's several different sizes. It's like a large, medium, sheet, or whatever like that. Now, it is kind of pricey. I think it's like 15 something, 12 to 15 something a thing, and it's not very long compared to the other foam sheets. So be wise about using this in particular. This is just me saying this as someone who was trying to mess around with Plastizote. And learn the hard way that there really isn't a lot of it, so just be careful. Hey, Mother Nature. All right, so this is, like I said, this is now too bright for you to even see it, so we're gonna turn this off. Yeah. The brightness comes from these really bright ass fairy lights that are in here, but this is basically Plastizote, or the LED foam. That's what it's known as. So that, I'm just giving you a good picture of that. And yep, we just gonna continue like there is not a thunderstorm outside, because we're all stuck inside anyway, so why not? All right, so we're gonna talk about the exotic stuff, and I forgot to get the warbler. So we're gonna go get the warbler. This, my friends, is black warbler. Now, there are different types of warbler. There is regular warbler, there's warbler crystal art, there's the red warbler, there is, oh god, there's a lot. There's the transparent warbler, the opaque warbler. There is all kinds. Now, this material is not my favorite. I will preface that entirely with, I don't care too much for warbler. It has a time and a place, but every time I've tried to mess with warbler, it just never worked out. Some people can work with warbler just fine and make beautiful things, but I am not one of those. But I will talk about it because this is an essential part of your kit. Warbler scraps can be used for just about anything. There is I'm going to use this as an example because like Kinpatsu has a tutorial on long ponytails, and one of the ways that she makes this long ponytail is she makes a skeleton. Well, I say a skeleton, but there's a better word for it, but she makes like a cap essentially of warbler and attaches a screw with warbler on top, and then she uses insulation foam to like mount the big ponytail. So warbler scraps can be used for just about anything. So what is warbler, guys? What are you asking about? Warbler is a thermoplastic material that is kind of used for a lot. Like I said, I don't use warbler that much, but you can make armor out of it. It tends to be a little heavier than armor, so beware of that. If you want to go the warbler route, it's going to take you probably about 4 to 5 sheets, maybe less than that, but because it depends on how you're doing your like sandwiching too. So like 4 to 5 sheets generally I hear is the max for doing armor. And it's expensive too. So when I tell you, like, and I will discuss this in episode 2, but I'm gonna tell you right now, a jumbo sheet of warbler is $90 US. 90. So, that's the jumbo. And ideally, when you want to do armor, you're going to be getting a jumbo. So, warbler is very expensive at $90 a package. It is very expensive, but I generally order mine from Cosplay Supplies, and they are very good about it. Like I said, there's a lot of Warbler different art. The crystal art you can like heat up in a pot and use it to form certain things. There's a lot. Generally, like, I wish I could go over it, but I actually do not have. Because like I said, I don't mess with Warbler a lot. I do not actually have those type of materials, but I can link to you where you can find these type of materials. Do your research, Google, whatever. But like I said, this is one of those materials, unlike foam, where you really got to take into your decision making about how much of it you're going to use, because it is very expensive. So I think I said, let's see, Warbler Black. The Warbler Black tends to behave a little bit better. Apparently, it responds to heat better. So I get black. It's, I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, you know, black because the color. No, there's like an actual difference between like the regular Warbler and the black Warbler and red Warbler. They're how they respond to heat, how well you can shape it, mold it. That really actually depends on the color. So, like I said, research. Now, there are all kinds of fun things that you can do with your foam. I will talk a little bit briefly about the fun things like LEDs. I showed it off on the Valera swords, but they are actually stupid bright. So, you know, all you're going to see is like this green blur. But another thing to consider when you're doing the foam costs and preparations, because like I said, this is all about getting into cosplay. So one of the things you might consider is, if you're like me and like to put LEDs in a bunch of stupid things, well, guess what? You can actually put LEDs in a bunch of stupid things. I am going to give you an example of how you, well, I won't do it per se, but I will show you how the sewable LEDs work, and like how I did them, because they're actually still in one of my dresses, but I'm gonna show you. So sewable LEDs are like my favorite thing in the world, because they are so cool. Like, LED strips are cool, but sewable LEDs, yeah, they're real cool. This is, now where I get my stuff from, I get it from Arduino, or I don't know how to pronounce this correctly. Somebody's gonna come check me in the comments, but Arduino, I think it's Arduino, or Adafruit. Basically, you go to that website, you fall down a big old hole, because it's very hobbyist. So like robots, LED switches, I mean, like, if you like any of that stuff, man, that website is for you. And a lot of the tutorials for doing sewable LEDs, like, that's how I did mine. They have a pretty, oh boy, I love hearing for the 6th time that, you know, we're all gonna die. That's not true. I'm probably going to edit that out. But anyways, this, my friends, is the Adafruit Flora version 3. Yep, version 3 controller. Now, they've probably updated this since then. But this little handy-dandy gadget is the coolest freaking thing. Let me just nerd out for you. You ready for this? Actually, I don't know how I'm going to nerd out for you, but this is the coolest freaking thing. It is somebody's going to be like, why are you touching the pins like that? Basically, this is the main, if you're going to go for sewable LEDs, this is the main controller for your action. This thing is so programmable. Like, you have to go in. So this is like the coolest thing. Like, if you know how to code, which I think the code for the floor is actually a modified C# or something like that. It's in the C family. I can tell you that. I think it's C#. Could be wrong. Somebody's going to check me. But this thing, you can program it to pretty much do just about everything. As long as you have the power source, and the, like, code for it. And there's, like, code limitations. But for the most part, this is a pretty powerful little piece of technology. And I freaking love it. All right. So, I got too excited, you guys. I love sewable LEDs. They are my favorite little gadget, and I don't get to use them often. But girl, we gon' find a project to put it in. Trust me, because Zaya is going to have sewable LEDs. Y'all are not ready, okay? So while that is the controller, these little babies are the NeoPixels. Now these are cool, right? Because the controller handles all the programming and sends it down the conductive. I'm doing a very like layman's like explanation because there is a more detailed explanation for those who like electronic science. There's a better description, but the way I'm going to dumb it down is, so you use the conductive wire from here. You program this, you run the conductive wire to the pixels, and the programming here tells it either to change colors, flash, whatever. Now, the reason why these are my favorite gadgets, because one, they're cool, they're freaking amazing when used correctly, and I will show you what it looks like when they're used correctly. Are you ready? Well, correctly is a subjective word, but I will show you what it looks like in use. The only problem about these bad boys, and so this is why I'm touching a little bit about LEDs. I don't have strips from them, but like you're going to be using kind of, if you get strips from them, you're going to be using the Flora infrastructure. So whether or not you're using like the smart NeoPixels or just like the dumb ones or just like the strips, it's kind of good to get like an idea of like what you're going to be working with. So these are the sewable NeoPixels. The only problem about these bad boys is they are kind of expensive. I forgot what they cost the last time I bought them, but they're kind of expensive. They usually come in like sheets of 20 or something like that. But they are generally used. This is why you haven't seen them in any of my projects, because they are very costly. And they are generally used for the projects that I just really want to put some LEDs in. There's obviously cheaper alternatives. Like, you guys do not have to go and do sewing LEDs. I'm crazy. You can get strips on Amazon. I know one of my friends, they use fairy lights. They use strips that they get from Amazon. There's a lot of alternatives and everything. You just look up like LED light strips if you want to like do all of that. There's so many different ways and alternatives to do this. But I was just showing you, because I like showing these little things. They're cool. But I'm just showing you, talking about it, because like I said, the new cosplayers, they gotta know what's in store when you start stepping into the madness. I think we talked about that. I talked about LEDs. I don't know where my conductive wire is, but I'm going to get up and I'm going to pull my dress down, which is annoying because I have it put up. But I'm going to pull my dress down and I'm going to show you what the conductive wire trains look like, as well as what they look like being turned on. And then I think the next thing that I have to talk about is, okay, in addition to the planning and preparation, is patterns. So we're going to talk about patterns and stuff as far as like where to get them, what the resources are. There's a lot of patterns out there for just about everything. Like, Kanumi is the GOAT. But before I talk about that, let me show you this conductive wire sewable LED so you too can get a taste of the madness and just do it. All right, so I brought you so you could see a little bit, and I don't know, I probably just went off on a tangent. You guys would probably stop watching by now. Like, I just went off on a total tangent about these dang LED sewable light things, man, but you just can't understand. All right, so I wanted to show you as well as I can what the conductive wire channels look like. So I'm going to actually just turn on a light here. Let me turn this on. All right, cool. So this is what I was talking about. These little silver channels right here, like these silver channels right here, that is the conductive wire path. And this is my Flora controller. Wow, Southern. My Flora controller that is actually still connected to my dress. So like a little aside, and I guess I can cover this in another video. I figured I kind of wouldn't because I don't know how many people are going to actually do this. So that's why I'm talking about it now, to get it out of the way. So the way you would do sewable or conductible wire or sewable LEDs is you need to do these conductive wire channels, and when you go around you have to seal them with like nail polish or a clear nail polish or something like that in order to preserve the channel. There is probably a better way to explain this, but haha, I'm not very sciencey. So right here I'm going to show you. You don't ever want to do this where it like loops like that loosely. You want it as tight. You want tight as possible because otherwise it affects the connection for the LED. And you will see this in action because a lot of my LEDs got some path problems. But that was like my first try doing them. So I'm gonna turn out this light so you can see. Let's see. She's so heavy. All right. Let's see. Let me get my phone. Oops. All right. So I'm gonna turn this bad boy on because, like I said, I'm a very firm advocate of sewable LEDs. You might just think I'm going off on a tangent now, but I'm not. All right, and I'm gonna turn this other light off so you too can see the effects. Now, as you can see, they're glowing a little bit red, which usually means that I didn't give them enough like power. So the LEDs are kind of flashing red. Like I said, this was like my first experiment. They also color change after a little bit. So like you can see that now they're changing to a blue and they're flickering a little bit. You don't ever want them to flicker. If they start flickering like that, that means that there's a power channel issue and you need to redo your conductive wire. At this point, I'm probably not going to do that unless I remake the dress, and I probably won't even go to the extent that I did. But alright, welcome to this little tiny lesson about sewable LEDs and why I love them. I'm shilling for them. Woo! Alright, that is enough. That is enough. Alright, so we're going to talk about patterns once I turn these lights back on. And I'm going to turn this off. Okay. Alright. So, patterns. I'll sit this off to the side. Alright. So, for intro to cosplaying, patterns are your bread and butter for foam patterns. Like I said, Kanumi cosplay is the greatest resource that any cosplayer should have. I have one of her books in here somewhere. I don't know where it is, can't pull it out. But I also have many of her PDFs. I have a lot of her patterns to use as base. So she is an excellent resource as far as getting the patterns. So like for your foam armor, a lot of her base patterns are probably going to come from her, with a little bit of modification because it like depends on like what kind of crazy stuff you're actually trying to do. But her stuff is excellent as a base. There is punished props. I think they talk about a lot of stuff that I actually just can't even really remember here. I know they talk about resin casting. I know they talk about like foam armor making. I know they talk about helmet making. I know they talk about a whole bunch of stuff. I'm gonna put a link and I'm gonna put a link in the description, and I'm also gonna like put a link in the video. Bear with me because this is like my first time really like doing some super duper editing. But I think literally that is it. It was probably a lot. It is a lot to digest. I will bookmark whatever I specifically talk about so you can avoid the 6-minute homage to sewable LEDs. Anyways, I really hope this helps you. I myself, I have been doing cosplay for about, like, well, making costumes for about 3 years. This is my 3rd-year anniversary, by the way. This would normally be spent at MomoCon, and I would have totally had something like special and prepared as a 3rd anniversary thing. But unfortunately, COVID is a butt in canceling everything we love. But I have been doing this for about 3 years. I still consider myself, so like you're gonna be like, okay, when I say this next statement, you're gonna be like, okay, but why are you making videos though? I still kind of consider myself as like a beginner cosplayer per se. Anybody that looks at my work is probably gonna be like, girl, you fucking lying. Whoops. Yeah, girls, and people are gonna be like, girl, you're lying. And not really. I've only done like 5 costumes, and I am crazy. So a lot of the complicated cosplays I just love because I love being challenged. But more importantly, I want to share my knowledge with others because I see a lot of people coming into this field and wanting to make stuff, and they be like, I don't know how to make any of that. And like, hey, you know, so I just wanted to pass my information along. I would like to think that I'm relatable. Probably not. People probably hate me. I don't know. I just wanted to share my knowledge. I've been doing this for 3 years. There are, of course, a lot of people that have been doing this way longer. Like I said, I refer to Kanumi as the GOAT because she's been there, done that, and has done a lot of tutorial work for the cosplay community. And I do believe that, like, we should share our knowledge around and help each other. So that is what I'm doing. So I hope that if any of this helped you a little bit, that's cool. I probably talked too much. It's fine. But this was episode 1, Simping with Foam. And we got through it with a thunderstorm. She's gone now. She just came and went, and she is gone. She was probably moving about 35 miles an hour. So she was like, hey, how are you doing? And goodbye. So the next episode is talking about the tools. So you're going to make this cool ass nightmare, which, maybe you want to make nightmare, maybe you want to make Fable, maybe you want to make Mercy, maybe you want to make Lucio. So you got all these cool ideas. You want to make some foam armor, but you ain't got no tools. So how in the world are you going to afford all this shit? I'm going to tell you in the next episode that it is entirely possible to afford all this shit, or rather, alternatives to help you do what you need to do. Because see, I didn't start with I started with a Dremel, but I definitely didn't start with a heat gun. I started with a hairdryer for a heat gun, which does the trick, but not that well. But it's little things that will get you on your way, because whether or not you're aiming to be serious, whether or not you're aiming to be a hobby, or just like kind of, whatever, I'm just doing this for fun, which we all should be doing this for fun, by the way. Twitter. There isn't a way to afford it and enjoy your cosplay journey. So the next episode is literally haha Dremel go bird, because I literally have no thoughts of my own and I like memes. So that's episode 2, and then episode 3 is the safety episode, where I get to talk about not poisoning yourself in your own house and not poisoning your animals or your kids or other people too. there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong or bad or damage themselves, or the seventh weather alarm in the row. In episode 4, I think we were, let me see my notes. No, it's like episode 3. I'm going to continue talking through this weather warning because I don't care. No, episode 2. No, episode 3 is the safety episode, right? And then episode 4 is the... Episode 3 is the safety. God, I just lost my train of thought. I'm so freaking sorry. So episode 2 is cosplaying on a budget. Episode 3 is safety first. Episode 4 is the foam tips and tricks episode where I get to talk to you about Flex Bond and Plasti Dip and wood glue and the alternatives you would do, because at this point, you know, you should be doing the thing and you're going to be like, well, how do I seal up this fine ass piece of armor? And I'm going to tell you exactly how to do that. And then episode 5, 4 or 5, one of those numbers. I'm still thinking about it, but it's probably going to be like a step build of something that I am not familiar with, preferably, so that we all get to exchange in the equal level of suffering and learning. So it's probably going to be like a shield or a sword. I don't know. It was going to be originally the hunting horn, but y'all don't be like me. Like, your first foam build should not give you immense stress and grief. Well, it'll give you stress, but your first foam build should be enjoyable, learning, and you should not cry over it. Unless it's tears of joy. But we're going to try to avoid the rage quits. So we're really going to start off on something. But if you want to do that, hey, look, my first build was Devil Mercy. I'll even show you it in the video, like what my first build looked like. And you're going to be like, girl, you crazy. And it's right. It's true. I am insane. But this is, did I even freaking introduce myself? My God. I think in the beginning I was like, hey, it's been a while. But I am Lysandra Cosplay, and this was episode 1, Simping with Foam. I said this already, but this is the end. Turn it off. Go out there. Buy your foam. We're doing it. We're doing the project. Your lineup next year is going to be lit. Let's go.